As high-stakes diplomatic efforts gather momentum between the United States and Iran, one country that cannot be ignored in this equation is China. Beijing's influence, back-channel engagement and its growing footprint in West Asia increasingly becoming visible. I'm joined by Andrew Leung, Chairman of Andrew Leung International Consultants, to decode what is happening in West Asia. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me. My question is that on Saturday, there's a very important meeting that is going to take place in Islamabad. Will peace prevail in West Asia?
Well, it's easier said than done because I think both protagonists are making maximalist demands. The United States wants to conquer Iran and subjugating any semblance of self-defense, but whereas the Iranians are capitalizing on their stranglehold on Hamas. And of course, after all this devastation, the whole Iranian people are rallying behind their government, regardless of even some original opponents of the regime, because their very national dignity, their national survival are at stake. So you can see that the two forces are heading towards each other, and it still remains to be seen whether eventual peace is going to come back. But I think that both sides are thinking of at least a temporary pause. But even with a temporary pause, both are looking for deliverables for their political constituency. For Trump, the coming midterm elections, he wants to buttress his narrative of a victory, a complete victory over Iran, along with its Israeli allies. As far as the Iranians are concerned, they have now discovered the effectiveness of this Hamas stranglehold, and they're trying to making maximalist demands of instituting a toll system, and of course, in a way, even ignoring some of his Arabian neighbors.
So what's your assessment? One, what role the China is playing? And second, why is Pakistan taking a lead in this entire issue? What has prompted them?
Well, first of all, as far as China is concerned, China is in a way an innocent bystander in the beginning, because China's economy depends on a peaceful trading environment in the world, so they can continue to trade. And China, of course, the Belt and Road Initiative links China to its other economic partners. And of course, China is a net energy importer. It's the largest customer for energy. About 40% of the energy coming from the Middle East, even though something like 15% coming from Iran. But fortunately, China thought long and hard on this a long time ago, and therefore pivoting towards renewables, not just because of climate change, but because of national energy security. And at the moment, something like 40% of China's electricity supply is now accounted for renewables. So, and also a lot of oil coming from Russia bypassing these problematic areas. And some energy from the Middle East is passing through pipelines, bypassing the Hormuz. And of course, China is a friendly ally with Iran, and some China-bound shipments were allowed to pass. So I think China is relatively insulated, but it's affected because of China's dependence on trade. And the whole world is now, the trade is going down, and it affects China's economy, in addition to domestic challenges.
Okay. Do you think that the real rivalry between America and China is about oil being traded in yuan? In 1970s, the shift took place. The dollar, which was pegged against gold, shifted towards petrol. And now the yuan comes into play, and that is leading to a great global rivalry because it undermines the American hegemony.
Well, this is really the Achilles heel of American dominance. And I think that President Trump and the whole American body politics will not allow that to happen. but they don't have to use any force because there is no replacement for the dominance of the US dollar. The dollar is deeply embedded in international financial markets. It's the world's freest traded currency. The renminbi is way, way down. There is no way that the renminbi could replace the dollar. However, I think there is the rub. Because the dollar was originally founded by the petrodollar syndrome, and that went back decades ago when the United States was the largest energy customer in the world. So it's the Middle East's biggest customer, but now no longer. The United States doesn't buy any oil from the Middle East. Is in fact itself is a major oil exporter. It's a competitor. The biggest customer in the world for Middle East oil is China. So the Middle East is pivoting towards China, but you look at it when the Middle East is selling oil to China and buying a lot of products from China. Why do they need the US dollar? But on the other hand, the US dollar is not their dominance does not depend entirely on oil trade. Of course, it's financial markets and so on and so forth. But nevertheless, this doesn't stop China from um, furthering the internationalization of the renminbi as far as bilateral trade is concerned.
Okay, let's quickly come back to the issue of negotiation and then we go to Lebanon. Can Pakistan deliver a state which is so unstable, mired in Islamic terrorism? Can it deliver peace?
Well, I think that Pakistan's role is not brokered by China, actually. It's not brokered by China because Pakistan's role depends on two dynamics. Firstly, don't forget the military leader of Pakistan was invited to visit the White House because President Trump somehow thinks that their interests ally. So I think that Pakistan has, and also Pakistan, of course, has very, very close relationship with the Islamic world, with the Iran and other Arab countries. So that's why Pakistan is playing a role. But of course, Pakistan has a very close relationship with China, and is in fact highly dependent on China, the Pakistan-China economic corridor, and also the trade. So Pakistan's role is not it's not a generational kind of game changer. It's very specific to this kind of dynamics at the moment.
What's your assessment? Can Lebanon derail the entire process, the bombing?
Well, I think that this we are still seeing as both sides are making maximalist demands, as well as the question about Lebanon and this Iran's proxy. I don't think Iran is going to giving up its influence because that would buttress its self-defense. And because of the Israel is now carrying out this attack on Lebanon, is unlikely to give it all up. So I think that throws a spanner in the works. So I think that still remains to be seen. But we are heading towards a rather unstable kind of situation, especially over the next couple of weeks, if not beyond.
So the old order is dead. So how do we describe the new order? Or there is no order, it's completely a time where we say that disorder prevails?
Well, the key tenet of the so-called liberal order is some sort of norms, some sort of that cannot be crossed. You do not just go out of your own way to decapitate the leadership of your enemy, and you do not just use military force to coerce other country to submission. And at least you depend on some international trade, even though the so-called liberal world order has been tilted towards American interests, but at least the United States maintain a semblance of order and pay some respect to some norms. But all these are thrown out of the window. But however, the most of the world, including a lot of Asian countries, the Europeans, and a lot of countries in Africa and Latin America, still want to maintain this old order, this which has served them well, and also like China, likewise, has benefited hugely from the rule-based order. So I think that we are seeing a destruction of the main tenants, the main supporter of this liberal order. In fact, the inventor and originator of this world order is now its biggest destroyer. But on the other hand, the rest of the world is trying to uphold it. So I don't think that the old order has died. It's still there, supported by the majority of other countries. But I don't think that a new order has been born because there's still a lot of dynamics at play.
So this brings me to the question, why did America so strongly commit to Israel's red lines in West Asia?
Well, if you look at the American body politics, across the aisle, both parties have been, I wouldn't use the word infiltrated, but they're infused with Jewish lobby interests, the Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, and that's been going on for a long, long time. And don't forget that President Trump, his son-in-law is Jewish, and there is a lot of Jewish interest in his camp. And this has been going on for a long, long time. And that's why you can see that Netanyahu has been almost dictating the American foreign policy. But of course, Trump is trying to push it back a little.
And my last question, will China's rise in this situation come at the cost of other countries?
Well, I think China's rise in a way, is a shock because of the rapidity and the scale and the influence. But I think China doesn't want to replace the United States because China simply does not have the kind of military global reach as the United States, and nor does China have the currency dominance of the US dollar. But I think that China doesn't want to rule the world. What China wants is this a space to develop its economy, to grow its, of course, international influence. But it's not going to put boots on the ground and occupy other countries. And in fact, it's a staunch supporter of the rule-based system, in spite of perceptions otherwise, because it serves China's interests.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, sir.